Hi everyone, I have just learned about the INFPs, the introvert, intuitive, feeling and perceptive people, and I've recognized that I have the same sort of personality. As an INFP, your primary mode of living is focused internally, where you deal with things according to how you feel about them or how they fit into your personal value system. Your secondary mode is external, where you take things in primarily via your intuition. INFPs, more than other intuitive feeling types, are focused on making the world a better place for people. Their primary goal is to find out their meaning in life, what is their purpose, how they can be best, how can they best serve humanity with their lives. And they are idealists and perfectionists who drive themselves hard in their quest for achieving the goals they have identified for themselves. And this is why you'll find that a lot of people that fall under that category can succumb to depressive feelings, especially when they feel like they don't measure up and they're not fulfilling their life's purpose. And they're probably they're very self-critical of themselves, way more than the society would be. And that basically summarizes all idealists. Now the INFPs are highly intuitive about people. They rely heavily on their intuitions to guide them and use their discoveries to constantly search for value in life. They are on a continuous mission to find the truth and meaning underlying things. Every encounter and every piece of knowledge gained gets sifted through the INFP's value system and is evaluated to see if it has any potential to help the INFP define or refine their own path in life. The goal at the end of the path is always the same. The INFP is driven to help people and make the world a better place. Generally thoughtful and considerate, INFPs are good listeners and put people at ease. Although they may be reserved in expressing emotion, they have a very deep well of caring and are genuinely interested in understanding people. This sincerity is sensed by others, making the INFP a valued friend and confidant. An INFP can be quite warm with people he or she knows well. INFPs do not like conflict and go to great lengths to avoid it. If they must face it, they will always approach it from the perspective of their feelings. In conflict situations, INFPs place little importance on who is right and who is wrong. They focus on the way that the conflict makes them feel, and indeed don't really care whether or not they're right. They don't want to feel badly. This trait sometimes makes them appear irrational and illogical in conflict situations. On the other hand, INFPs make very good mediators and are typically good at solving other people's conflicts because they intuitively understand people's perspectives and feelings and genuinely want to help them. INFPs are flexible and laid back until one of their values is violated. In the face of the value system being threatened, INFPs can become aggressive defenders, fighting passionately for their cause. When an INFP has adopted a project or job which they are interested in, it usually becomes a cause for them. Although they are not detail-orientated individuals, they will cover every possible detail with determination and vigour when working for their cause. When it comes to the mundane details of life maintenance, INFPs are typically completely unaware of such things. They might go for long periods without noticing a stain on the carpet, but certainly meticulously brush a speck of dust off their project booklet. INFPs do not like to deal with hard facts and logic. I actually disagree with that bit because I'm actually quite logical. Their focus on their feelings and human conditions makes it difficult for them to deal with impersonal judgment. They don't understand or believe in the validity of impersonal judgment, which makes them naturally rather ineffective in using it. Most INFPs will avoid impersonal analysis, although some have developed this ability and are able to be quite logical. There you go. Under stress, it's not uncommon for INFPs to misuse hard logic in the heat of anger, throwing out fact after often inaccurate fact in an emotional outburst. I don't agree with that one either. INFPs have a very high standards and are perfectionists. Consequently, they are usually hard on themselves and don't give themselves enough credit. INFPs may have problems working on a project in a group because their standards are likely to be higher than other members of the group. Depends on the project. In group situations, they may have a control problem. The INFP needs to work on balancing their high ideals with the requirements of everyday living. Without resolving the conflict, they will never be happy with themselves, and they may become confused and paralyzed about what to do with their lives. INFPs are usually talented writers. They may be awkward and uncomfortable with expressing themselves verbally, but have a wonderful ability to define and express what they're feeling on paper. INFPs also appear frequently in social service professions such as counseling or teaching. They are at their best in situations where they're working towards the public good and in which they don't need to use hard logic. INFPs who function in their well-developed sides can accomplish great and wonderful things which they will rarely give themselves credit for. Some of the great humanistic catalysts in the world have been INFPs. Yeah, that's actually quite insightful, this little article. INFPs are very much idealists, and I definitely see myself as one, and I've had issues because of that. You can be very hard on yourself when you're a perfectionist and you want things to run by the plan, follow your blueprint, and the trouble arises when those ideals are not met, or they're not met within a given time frame. So yeah, I've learned a lot from this little article and what I watched on YouTube today about INFPs. I've met come across some very interesting personalities. It is very interesting, and true that a lot of INFPs tend to be very selective who they open up to, because perhaps they don't want to be judged, and because they have quite deep feelings, and opening up to people can then make them more vulnerable. So it's actually much easier to even stay away from social situations where one has to open up and be in a more kind of professional setting where personal issues or conversations don't really arise. Yeah, so that really explains why INFPs behave that way. Anyway, I hope you found this insightful. I definitely have. And if you find yourself to be an INFP, try to learn to let go of things and not care as much, and
it's 10 o'clock.
find a little things that you love, and get in touch with your heart, get in touch with the universe, and be okay when things don't seem to be perfect, and when you perceive things in the world, or see the things or notice the things in the world that are not good, and you can't actually change them. So you sort of have to kind of step back and say, just kind of distance yourself emotionally from that, because it can harm you, especially again if you can't do anything about it. Apart from that, I think what I will probably try to do is open up more, try to open up more, and maybe even work on not getting emotional about things when it's not required, or not let my feelings get in the way when I perceive things to be negative or hurtful to others, perhaps, or myself. Yeah, so I think just having a positive outlook all the time, no matter what, just keeping positive, and eating well. Actually, this I believe very strongly, that sometimes, regardless of your personality, it's important that you keep up with good nutrition and watch what you're eating, because I do know 100%, there's no doubt about it, that a lot of things that we eat these days with chemicals and preservatives, and a lot of unnatural things that are not meant to be consumed, cause certain reactions and can cause depression in people. So removing those items out of one's diet can make you much more positive and open than you normally would be if you were exposed to those stimulants. So it's a good thing to see a nutritionist or read nutritional books, and put yourself, just give yourself a certain amount of time, maybe a month, just to see how you feel after you've followed a clean whole food diet. And follow also an exercise routine, because by exercising one gets the release of endorphins, which makes one happy. So when a person, if you can bring yourself to being really happy, then or put yourself in a very much an elevated state, then whatever comes your way, it will be taken much more easier and lightly than when you're more open, or when you're more down, or even neutral. So the more elevated and the more ecstatic you feel, the less you, the more you will be able to influence people and lift them up, and sort of create a bubble around you where you don't get affected as much as you normally would if you didn't, follow that kind of clean diet and an exercise routine. So I would put that first, especially if you have any bouts of depression, or just feeling down, regardless of the thinking, regardless of what's going on, just try changing the diet and exercising, and then just think as positive as you can, and create that positive bubble around you, and the world will be a better place for you. Right? I hope this helps.